I'm going to be talking about the notes on the state of Virginia written by Thomas Jefferson. I'm going to be talking about why I think our professor wanted us to learn about this text and read it. Now, this text is about Thomas Jefferson's belief on the separation of church and state and how it was before his time and during his time. He talks about how the first settlers of our country made it a penalty for anyone to refuse to have their child baptized, and they also made it a penalty for anybody of the Quaker religion to assemble and practice that religion in the country. He also talks about how it was a penalty for anybody of the Quaker religion to return to the country for a third time. That penalty was death. Anglicans held power in the country for about a century, and he talks about how miserable the people were and how angry they were that they were just not able to practice their own religion or live the way they wanted due to religion controlling the state. Jefferson believed it was of the utmost importance for citizens to be able to practice what they want, because Americans were never fully free if they couldn't practice what religion they would like. Now, when Jefferson is talking about the separation of church and state, he gives one of his most famous quotes, and the quote is, "But it does me no injury for my neighbor to say there are 20 gods or no God. It neither picks my pocket nor breaks my leg." This is a perfect example of how one's religion should not and does not affect a person's day-to-day life. It just doesn't. He talks about how Christianity would never have been introduced had the freedom to practice religion been introduced itself. This text is still used today as an example on why separation of church and state is of the utmost importance. He gives us a lesson on what would happen when the two weren't separated and all of the unjust punishments and wrongdoings and unhappiness that went along with it. The Constitution states that Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. This means that the government cannot tell people what to worship or what not to worship. And they cannot make a statewide religion either, or a countrywide religion for that matter. And with some people thinking that the two should not be separate because this country was founded on Christianity, well, John Adams stated in the 1796 Treaty of Tripoli, "The government of the United States of America is not in any sense founded on the Christian religion." So I can see how in today's society that it's a lot harder for the two to remain separate, because there's stuff making headlines everywhere of how people feel. For instance, in Kentucky, a clerk refused to issue a marriage license to a same-sex couple because she stated, "To issue a marriage license which conflicts with God's definition of marriage with my name affixed to the certificate would violate my conscience. It is not a light issue for me. It is a heaven or hell decision." The clerk would go on to be jailed briefly for failing to comply with a federal court order to supply the certificate. With this kind of thing happening across the country and many people wanting to voice their opinions, who knows if the two will be able to remain separate in the future. As of right now, the two seem to still remain separate, and I believe that this is a good thing. So it is important for us to read and learn about this text, because I believe that the freedom to practice whatever you would like or not practice anything at all is of the utmost importance, because you have the freedom to choose. And if you don't have the freedom to choose, you're going to be upset. And nobody wants to be upset over not being able to choose what religion they can worship. And religion should not affect another person's day-to-day life. It should not make somebody angry whether you practice a certain religion or no religion at all, because there is nothing wrong with what religion you practice or not wanting to practice another religion yourself. It should definitely not turn to violence. So if there are any questions that anybody would like to ask me, feel free to ask, and I'm happy to answer.